of horror at her own sinfulness. Right, when I read that, that terrifies me because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such a worse sinner than her. I've done such worse things than her, and she almost died inside of her. Like, how would I react to my own soul? But then I remember that the Lord showed her that so He could show her how great His mercy is. So you can say, like, look, I see your brokenness, but that's not who you are. Who you are is my child. Who you are is my son. Who you are is my daughter. And I love you. And as I was praying, I went over to pray while many of you were at Mass. And I was sitting over there and I knelt down. And the reflection I was doing for prayer time was called Set Apart. And I was like, Lord, what does it mean to be set apart in a community? And I just immediately had this image of a chessboard come into my mind. Right? All the pieces on the board. In community with one another, in cohesion, but also in solitude. They're never isolated. They're on the board together. There's one side, the white side, there's the black side. And they're unified. But then they have their squares. They have their mission. They have their purpose that they're set out to accomplish. Some of them have greater gifts than others. Right? The pawns can move one or in the beginning 2 spaces. The queen can move anywhere. But it's together, working out of their solitude in community, that victory happens. Protecting the king. Right? What's different about a chessboard is we're not protecting the king. Right? We're not on the defensive. Right? We're on the attack. We're on a king who's victorious. We're on a king that can't be slain by the other team's queen. That can't be put in checkmate. Because when he was put in checkmate, he lay there for 3 days and he came back. And he said, death, where is your sting? Hell, where is your victory? And when we come into our identity, when we discover who we are, we can go out into mission and be unafraid. Whether we're a pawn or a rook or a bishop, whatever we're called to do, we can be secure that our Lord has given us an identity for a purpose. And that He loves all of the flowers in His garden, St. Therese would say. But then we look at Judas, who walked with the Lord, who saw the Lord do all of these great things, who lived in total isolation, who didn't enter into a relationship. When right before the Last Supper, he calls Him teacher, as everyone else calls Him Lord, because he doesn't know who He is. And He betrays Him because He's let the worldliness come into His heart and choke out the fruit that He was meant to bear. Or even Peter. Right? Peter who lived out both of these sides of the isolation, of denying Christ 3 times in the garden, and the solitude of the Lord coming and seeking Him out as He goes back to fishing, as He runs away from everything, and saying, like, Peter, come back. Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? 3 times he asks that. 3 times Peter says, you know that I love you. The world confuses. The world seduces. The world sucks us in. Right? Jesus operated out of a place of solitude with the Lord. When we look at the great saints, they operated out of a place of solitude with the Lord. And if we look at our lives, most of our lives are not a place of solitude with the Lord. Most of our lives are like a kitchen blender that's just been flipped on with everything spinning around as fast as it can. Sports, school, religion, family, parents, college, homework, parties, sports, whatever it is, it's all just blending around in a giant fury. But we're not meant to be a blender whipping around. That's not our identity, and we can't hear the Lord there. But when we go and make space for the Lord, right? Solitude, I put this in the image that I posted earlier this week. Solitude is not this magical thing that makes God appear. God is everywhere, right? That's why we made the ridiculous sweatshirts. God is nowhere. God is now here, right? Because God is everywhere at all times. But when we go away, when we take time, when we make space in our lives, we encounter Him. When we make space, it's not that He suddenly appears, it's that our capacity to receive Him enlarges, it expands. Like, that's one of my favorite prayers. I pray over my kids every night. My kids now ask me to pray over them every night. It's amazing. And I always end the prayer with, Lord, expand their capacity to receive You. Expand my capacity to receive You. And every time we go away in solitude, we're expanding ourselves to receive more of Him. But when we're growing, if we don't have solitude, then we're going to take in more crap. We're going to take more of the power and the sex and the money and the lies of the world that we think are going to fill this hole that's been in us from the moment we were born, because we were made for a relationship. And nothing can satisfy that but the Father. Nothing can give us our identity but the Father. No one can explain to us why we're here and who we are but the Father. If you want to know who you are, you want to hear God speak, if you want to know what your purpose in life is, you got to make space for God. This series, known that we're doing this semester, is in response to the Father's heart being poured out. We're doing it this spring because Lent is coming. The time to enter into the desert and enter into solitude. Say, I don't want these things of the world. I don't want chocolate. I don't want television. I don't want snacks between meals. I want Jesus. And guys, it's amazing. I'm gonna put a couple people on the spot really quick, but like, as some of you know, that there's some of the seniors are doing this Exodus 90 thing they've talked about in the parish, where they're cutting out a bunch of stuff in their life because they're like, you know what, I want more of God. I want to do something greater than what I've been doing. Go ask them about it. Go ask them if it's worth it. Go ask them if they miss television, if they miss social media, or if the Lord is filling those gaps, if the Lord is revealing things about who He is and about who they are. I don't know why I want to end this story, but this is the story I'm going to end with. There's hold on, I don't know why I'm going to end this. I'm going to end the point. There it is. St. Catherine of Siena says, if you are who you were created to be, you will set the world on fire. And there's this old story of the Desert Fathers, that Abba Lot comes to Abba Joseph. And Abba Lot comes to Abba Joseph because he's in the desert fire. He's known for his holiness. He's known for the things that he's doing. And Abba Lot says to Abba Joseph, like, what else do I have to do? Like, I pray my prayers every day. I go to Mass. I fast. I do penance. I do everything that's asked of me and more. What else is there for me? And it said that Abba Lot looked at him and he smiled and he turned his hand towards heaven. And each of his fingers turned into wisps of flame. And he looked back and he said, all that's left is to become fire. And we let the consuming, fiery, burning, sacred heart of Jesus consume us. Please, only the best. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Close your eyes for a second.